Norman Regional's Ortho Central is your premier team of orthopedic specialists. With 5 highly trained orthopedic surgeons, 3 fellowship-trained sports medicine physicians, and locations in Norman, Newcastle, and Midwest City, we'll work hard to get you back in the game. Ortho Central, #1 in sports medicine and orthopedic care. Call 405-360-6764 and schedule an appointment today.
Christmas has come early at Bob Hurley RV. Get the all-new 2025 Coachman Catalina for only $115 per month. Plus, don't miss our year-end sales event with incredible deals on over 300 RVs. Get America's best-selling fifth wheel, the Keystone Cougar, for just $249 per month. Kick off a new year of adventures with Bob Hurley RV. Visit us between Britain and Wilshire under the giant American flag.
Offer with approved credit. See dealer for details.
The Ref Radio Sports Network is powered statewide by the insurance adjusters at Brown O'Haver. Fire, wind, theft, or tornado, we can help. Call 405-735-5510. Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked in to the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino calling line at 405-329-9000. Text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
Well, there is no Tyler McComas today on this installment of Locked In. The second to last Locked In of the year 2024. Right, we are in the office tomorrow, right, Grayson? It's only New Year's Day that we have off. Am I correct?
Well, I've got vacation the 2 days after New Year's because I'm going to need some recovery time from New Year's Eve. But, yes.
That's a man who knows how to use his vacation time wisely. People.
Come on,
I'm
now.
out here at Caven's Group today. Grayson Singleton filling in for Tyler McComas in the Buffalo Wild Wings studios. And we're interacting with you over the course of the next hour here on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. This is Locked In, where for an hour every single day we discuss primarily OU recruiting. And this time of year, OU portal recruiting, more specifically. However, we come to a juncture on the calendar where there just isn't a lot happening. It's a dead period right now as far as recruiting in the portal is concerned. That does not lift until next week, so there are no portal visitors on the immediate horizon for Oklahoma. Obviously, they are licking their wounds after a season-ending 21-20 loss at the hands of Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. And the hits just keep on coming for this program, Grayson. If there has been a piece of news relevant to the portal in recent days that has really made some folks uneasy and uncomfortable, it would be the departure of linebacker Lewis Carter. Now, Lewis Carter was a second stringer for Oklahoma this past season. He'd been a special teams ace for the program his first 2 years on campus. But he is in the portal as of yesterday afternoon. And this is one that stings, Grayson. A lot of these guys that have hit the portal from the University of Oklahoma in the month of December, you watch them walk out the door and you're thinking, okay, they were just a body, just a guy. You can afford to lose a guy like that. You can probably go replace somebody. You can find a replacement that is of a comparable talent level. With Lewis Carter, man, you rewind to signing day in December of 2022. This is a guy that Brent Venables said they believed was the best player in the state of Florida in the 2023 recruiting cycle. It was a big upset when Oklahoma landed him in the first place. Florida was a key competitor in that race. Miami obviously interested. UCF, Georgia, I believe, had offered. I want to say he had an Alabama offer as well. North Carolina, surprisingly at the time, was heavy in the mix, but Oklahoma swoops in. And keep in mind, this is at the very beginning of the Brent Venables era. They go and grab Lewis Carter from Tampa Catholic down in Tampa, Florida, obviously an area where Brent Venables has some roots and had recruited before while on staff at Clemson. But Oklahoma lands him, and you figure, okay, him and Samuel Masigo, that's your next elite duo once you cycle through Danny Stutzman and Kip Lewis and Jaron Kanik, if it doesn't come any sooner than that, that's the point at which you're going to be able to rely on Samuel Masigo and Lewis Carter as your two dudes at linebacker. They came in together in the 2023 class. Sammy's still around. Sammy's a mainstay. He's not going anywhere. But Lewis Carter in the transfer portal. What was your immediate reaction to seeing the news that Lewis Carter would be looking elsewhere to play in 2025, Grayson?
Well, to me, he was going to be a pivotal piece on the defense, replacing Danny Stutzman next year. He's very versatile. I love how he flows sideline to sideline. He's got really good sideline to sideline speed, a great tackler, and he plays with his hair on fire too. So he's a very versatile chess piece. My initial thought was, boy, I hope this isn't the opening of the floodgates, because look, I listened to you and Brandon's emergency pod on Sunday when I was trying to get some work done, and I agree with you that the ZAC Alley departure isn't as catastrophic as you may think it is, because they're in position to elevate somebody from in-house. But ZAC Alley has proven he has the skill of play calling, and play calling is a skill. And whether you feel comfortable elevating certain position coaches to defensive coordinator or not, that's all fine and good, but do they have the skill of being able to judge the flow of a game and how it's going, the flow of the opposing team's offense, and then calling plays with respect to that? That's a skill. And if certain players in the building don't believe that those guys have that skill to put them in the best positions, play in and play out, Lewis Carter hopping into the portal, a guy who is not he's not some run-of-the-mill guy. Like you mentioned, he was a top player in Florida when he was coming out. He was a guy that was going to play a substantial role. That prompts my first thought to being, oh boy. And then you've got all the cryptic tweets from all the players who, I don't know why people in my generation like to communicate with emojis, but cool. That didn't make you feel any better either. So, no, uneasy is the appropriate word here after the departure of ZAC Alley and then Lewis Carter hopping into the portal.
Yeah, ZAC Alley leaving for West Virginia is something that we're going to talk about in much greater detail come the rush, which is going to be me and Teddy Lehman today from 3 to 6. I'll be here at Cavens. Teddy will be out at Newcastle Casino. That is paramount right now. That is the primary topic of discussion. I'm not trying to bury the lead here, but especially as somebody that played linebacker at the University of Oklahoma, I am very eager to hear Teddy's thoughts on the matter. And not only as somebody that played linebacker, but as somebody that played for Brent Venables at the linebacker position. Teddy is the guy that I think everybody wants to hear from with regard to ZAC Alley's departure for the same position that he occupied at Oklahoma at West Virginia under Rich Rodriguez. So, top of the 3 o'clock hour, I imagine that's the very first thing we're going to get to because it is the largest story right now. But the news breaks Saturday that he's going to West Virginia, right? And then next morning, boom, there's the news that Lewis Carter is getting in the transfer portal. And I imagine many people did see it as the proverbial opening of the floodgates because you lose a guy at linebacker, and a talented linebacker at that, immediately following your linebackers coach and defensive coordinator's departure. The era of college football and the age of college football that we're living in would lead you to believe, okay, here they all come. There will be guys that go to West Virginia with ZAC Alley. There will be guys that, their relationship with Oklahoma starts and stops with ZAC Alley, and so they're going to get out of town now. But that's not the case. There was nobody on this roster. There is nobody on this roster whose relationship with Oklahoma starts and stops with ZAC Alley. Here's the really interesting thing to consider about ZAC Alley's brief 11-month tenure on staff at the University of Oklahoma. He never landed a single commitment, Grayson.
Not one.
Not a single commitment. There was not a single player, not a single linebacker that committed to Oklahoma while ZAC Alley was nominally the linebackers coach. And so many folks, they see a coach leave. They see a coach take another job, and their immediate thought is, well, how does this affect the program's recruiting efforts? How does this affect roster retention? And the knee-jerk reaction was, well, shoot, not all that much because all of these guys were here at Oklahoma before ZAC ALLEY got to town, with the exception of James Nesta, I suppose. And all of these guys have relationships on the OU staff that date back much further than their relationship with ZAC ALLEY. But then Lewis Carter's in the portal, and suddenly you're reevaluating everything. What's becoming clear is that at this point you got to take a portal linebacker, at least one, Grayson.
Yeah.
Because not only did you lose Lewis Carter, not only does Danny Stutzman graduate, but you lost Desan McCullough. For what it's worth, you lost Phil Picciotti, a guy who had never seen the field due to a couple of ACL injuries, but was a four-star prospect out of high school, had a ton of potential, came in with that same group with Samuel Masigo, Lewis Carter, and Taylor Heim. And so as it stands, you have 6 linebackers on scholarship that return next season, and you add 1 freshman to the fold in Marcus James. That's not enough. You got to have more than 7 scholarship linebackers.
Oh, yeah. And you might want to add 1, 2, potentially 3 more. Now, I know I'm being adventurous here, but stick with me. Maybe just to brace for somebody else leaving. Now, I'm not the insider here. I'm just speculating. I'm just, playing along with the proverbial opening of the floodgates that Lewis Carter may or may not have started. But is it reasonable to believe, Parker, that A, you go down that road where you may take another linebacker just to brace for another departure, and 2, am I overreacting that there could be somebody else, maybe 2 more somebody else's, that dip up out of here?
I mean, look, I can't rule anything out, and that's the brutal reality. Like, I wish I could speak in definitives. I can't anymore. I can't. And Oklahoma has really only felt the sting of one absolutely shell-shocking portal departure, and that was Caden Green just about a year ago.
Right.
But even so, man, guys hit the transfer portal these days for reasons that they would never have hit the transfer portal 5 years ago. If the transfer portal existed, the toughest thing to reckon with in this era of college football is unlimited free agency, where guys at this point can play for as many schools as they darn well want to play for over the course of their collegiate career. Now you have eligibility being extended to guys that play JUCO ball. There's so much that makes this whole picture intricate and complex in ways that it was not intricate or complex 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And there's starting to be a level of concern for me when I look at this linebacker room next season. And I know Brent Venables is Brent Venables. I know this is the premier linebackers coach in the country, and he is your head ball coach. And linebacker is the one position group that you should never have to worry about at Oklahoma. But I think back to 2022, Grayson, when that team went 6-7, and what was their undoing defensively? Well, they were not good at a lot of things. But over the course of the season, what became clear was that they had no depth at linebacker.
Yep.
They had, 3 guys at the time that they could count on? Deshaun White, Danny Stutzman, David Agwebu, and that was it?
Pretty much.
And as you projected ahead to 2025, you can count on Kip Lewis, sure. You got a couple of nice players in the mix, and Kobe McKenzie and Samuel Masigo, that you feel like they're ready to take that next step and become big-time contributors. But that's 3. And then the rest of the room, you got Jaren Kanak, which I just don't know at this point with Jaren Kanak, man. It might not work. It hasn't worked to this point, at least not nearly in the way that everybody thought it was going to work. He was an afterthought in that rotation this year.
At this point, is he just there for vibes?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Like, he took over the social media, and boy, everybody roasted him over that when he got burned on that 95-yard touchdown run, and everybody was using the hashtag Kanak clips that he had been using while he was in control of OU social media. So I don't know what Jaren Kanak's going to give you. I mean, you can't bank on him giving you much of anything based on what we've seen over the last couple of years for him in an Oklahoma uniform. So you have Kip Lewis, you have Kobe McKenzie, you have Samuel Masigo. Those three, those are good players.
Yes.
All right? But beyond them, you have Jaren Kanak. You have two guys that have played one game in an Oklahoma uniform in Taylor Heim and James Nesta. And you have an incoming true freshman in Marcus James. There is not enough linebacker depth on this football team right now.
No, there's not. And with the way that Brent Venables runs his scheme, this can kind of extend to the cheetah position too. Because if you make Sammy Omosigho a linebacker, now you're taking him out of the running for being a cheetah. Kendall Dolby is on his way back, but he snapped his leg in half the last time we saw him. So you don't really know what you're going to get at that point. So it's not just the 2 or the 3 linebackers. You've got a whole other position that is essentially in your secondary that also might take a hit depth-wise as well, and a position that's a critical part, a critical component of the defense.
We got to hit a break here, and this is a conversation that no doubt will trickle in the next segment as well because folks are chiming in on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line, 405-651-3439. So I want to get to some of these texts. I want to get to some of your concerns, of which there are many right now, and understandably so. Not a good weekend for Oklahoma in any capacity, on the field or off it. So we'll dive into that a little bit more on the other side. I'm at Caven's Group today, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes here on the Ref. The Home of Sooner fans, Parker Thune, Grayson Singleton, and this is Locked In.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the Yums because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Streak, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Find out more at StriveBank.com. Strive Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The Sooners aren't the only team in Norman killing it in the transfer portal. Bob Stoops.
Some of the things that they do, it's a little bit questionable, but like, seriously, you did that?
Dusty Dvorak.
The last thing that you want to have happen is find yourself falling behind.
Brian Bosworth.
You know, it's such a great call because they disguised the blitz.
The Ref continues to prove this is the home of Sooner fans. The Ref is SEC ready. Are you?
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Entrepreneurs in Moore, Norman, and South Oklahoma City have an experienced business partner in their neighborhood. Moore Norman Technology Center's workforce and economic development team understands the challenges entrepreneurs and small businesses face every day. From building an effective business model to hiring the right employees and managing cash flow, Moore Norman's business development experts can help you move forward confidently and thrive, knowing that you have a skilled partner at your side. Learn more about Moore Norman's Technology Center by calling 405-801-5000 or visit us online at mntc.edu.
When you're sick, you need to be seen by a health professional today, not next week. Norman Regional Urgent Care is here for you from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Open 7 days a week at Porter Health Village in Norman and Monday through Friday in Westmore and Goldsby. No appointment needed, just walk right in. Whether it's a sudden illness or a minor injury, Norman Regional Urgent Care is ready to get you back on your feet today, not next week.
Hi, everyone. It's TJ Perry here from the T-Row in the Morning Show for my friends over at Joe's Wines and Spirits. The great staff at Joe's Place would like to thank their loyal customers and wish everyone a happy holiday. And speaking of the holidays, whether you need great gift ideas or you're hosting a holiday party, Joe's Wines is there to help with their great selection and, most of all, great prices. So do what I do. Head over to Joe's Wines and Spirits, 1330 East Alameda Street, right here in Norman, or visit their Facebook page for all their monthly specials. Happy holidays from Joe's Wines and Spirits.
OEC Fiber brings you the power of fiber optic technology right to your doorstep. Experience seamless streaming, lag-free gaming, and smooth video calls with OEC Fiber. But that's not all. With OEC Fiber, you get top-notch member and subscriber service and competitive pricing. Visit our website at www.oecfiber.com or call 405-217-6868 to sign up today.
Insurance companies aren't in the business of saving you money, they're in the business of taking your money. Hi, this is Will Gosney with Yala Gosney Attorneys at Law. Have you ever had an insurance claim and thought, wow, I really am in good hands, or these folks truly are treating me like a neighbor? Well, that's where we can help. We'll deal with the stress, we'll get you back to your normal life. So save our number in your phone, and if you're ever hurt in a wreck, call or text us at 405-800-8080. It's 405-800-8080.
Ready for some pickleball fun? Join us at the YFAC for pickleball every Tuesday from 8 to 11 a.m. and Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. Grab your friends and hit the courts for a lively morning or evening game. If water fitness is your pleasure, Aqua Zuma classes are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 p.m. Go online at yfac.com to learn more about day passes and memberships.
It is Locked In here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. I'm out at Cavens Group today. Water, fire, mold, storm damage, crime scene cleanup. Cavens Group does it all. 24/7, 365 emergency services. 405-573-3048 is how you can get in touch with Cavens if you're here in the OKC area. If you're up in Tulsa, 918-282-7612. And, of course, their 24-hour line, 1-800-594-4437. You have an emergency in the middle of the night. You need it dealt with right away. Cavens is on call for you all day, every day. Very thankful for the folks out here at Cavens and our partnership with them here on the Ref. To the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line we go here. And, boy, did we get a lot of texts in that first segment here. Where even to start here? Oh, here we go. Jammin from Tulsa says, Parker, you need to address the transfer rumors of RSJ and Peyton Bowen ASAP. Are those rumors? Because if they're rumors that haven't made it around to me. So I have nothing that would indicate Robert Spears-Jennings and Peyton Bowen are transferring. As far as I know, on the NIL front, they're good. They're taken care of. Peyton Bowen has a brother here that's also emerged as a key starter for Oklahoma on the defensive side of the ball. Those are not rumors. Those are not legitimate rumors, at least. Mississippi Pot Roast on the text line asks, with Lewis Carter in the portal, it is alarming. I guess doesn't ask. He made a statement. With Lewis Carter in the portal, it is alarming that 0 linebackers are on campus because of BV. All the 1s and 2s were recruited by Odom. No, that's just not true. In fact, no one on this roster except for Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie. Those guys are the holdovers from the Brian Odom days. And even so, OU had to re-recruit them. You'll recall Kobe McKenzie flipped to Texas after Lincoln Riley left for USC and took Brian Odom with him. So Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie, yes, those guys were originally recruited by Brian Odom. However, Jaron Kanik, that was a BV special, as we know. Samuel Masigo loved Brent Venables. That was the reason he picked Oklahoma. He and his late mother absolutely loved Brent Venables, and once they visited Oklahoma, it was pretty much a done deal. Taylor Heim, that was a guy that Brent Venables watched his tape a week before signing day and said, yep, we need him. They went and got him. James Nesta, same deal. He went to high school in North Carolina. He was familiar with Venables' defense because it was the defense he ran out at Huff High School in North Carolina. And then you got Marcus James coming in. I don't know who you necessarily give credit to for the Marcus James recruitment, but that's a hometown kid that, you know, he's always wanted to be a Sooner. That was what he aspired to. Once he got that offer, it was pretty set in stone at that point that he was coming. So it is not true that everybody in that linebacker room was recruited by Brian Odom, but no doubt his influence and his legacy at Oklahoma endures through Kip Lewis and Kobe McKenzie, 2 guys that he originated that he originally recruited to the Sooners. Oh, boy. Text line is such an adventure this time of year.
Already got somebody on the text line to hate me.
Goodness. Really? Who's hating you?
Let's see. Let's go to, and I do like reading these texts, so don't worry about it. The somebody in the 580 said, "Goodness gracious, isn't there anyone else that can do Locked In with Thune? I've had enough of Pistol Grayson. He's terrible." Love you too, buddy.
Wow. Those folks in the shady 580, they can be difficult to please.
I hope you have a happy New Year's, bud.
I hope you do as well, Grayson, and I hope that listener does, despite the fact.
Well, I was talking to the listener, but I hope you have a happy New Year's too.
Oh,
Parker.
okay. Yeah, I know. I knew you were talking to the listener. I just want to let it be known to both that listener and to you. I hope you all that are listening. I hope all of you that are listening have a happy New Year's. John and Blanchard, boy, this is a fun one. Gout guy just called Dusty the worst human being on earth and ripped Teddy because he predicted OU would win a natty in BV's first 3 years. He's torching them. Okay. Look, we don't do shock jock radio here. I guess that's decided. They've decided that's what works for them. We like talking about actual sports, not engaging in pointless beef over here. So, back to the text line we go. Spartan Sooner says, "When is the cutoff for guys entering the portal? Isn't it soon for the winter portal?" Yes, it is, Spartan Sooner. So keep in mind, graduate transfers, i.e., players that have graduated from the university that they are currently attending, can enter the portal at any time. They do not have to wait on a window. They can just get in the portal and go somewhere. Now, for non-graduate transfers, the cutoff was December 28th in general. However, you also have 5 days after your bowl game. And the university has, I forget whether it's 48 or 72 hours after you file your paperwork to officially release you into the portal and to process your paperwork. So the 5-day window for Oklahoma ends on Wednesday. That's when that would conclude. Theoretically, if you factor in the time to process in the paperwork, you could still have guys appearing in the portal Friday or even Saturday for Oklahoma. So they're not out of the woods yet, but I don't know right now of any major portal departures that are coming. There's some more processing that needs to happen. I'll say that. There are more guys on this roster that need to go find somewhere else, respectfully, because they're not good enough to play at the University of Oklahoma. Sooner Dave 678 says, "You're awesome, Grayson." Topher B from OKC says, "We need more Grayson." 405 Taylor says, "Grayson, I don't hate you." A 304 listener says, "I love listening to you, Grayson."
I love y'all too.
So there you go. That's the great thing about the Ref Army. Somebody disses you, you'll have 10 people coming to your defense.
But isn't that just our industry in general? If you're pleasing everybody, you're doing something wrong. That's how I've always looked at it.
Oh, boy. Here we go. 405 listener says, "Brent Venables has set this program back a decade at least. The sooner we realize that and make corrections, the better." And here's the question that I guess I will pose at this point on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Let's say you have all the power. Let's say you are the university president at Oklahoma. You have the power to do pretty much anything with the athletic department and or the football program that you so desire to put a winning product on the football field. How are you addressing this? If you think it's broken, how are you fixing it? I'd love to know whether some people have tangible solutions, and I do believe that there are people out there that will come forth with tangible solutions, but you got a lot of people just complaining right now, Grayson. And you know what? I get it. It's understandable. You just lost to Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl. You just went 6-7 for the second time in 3 years. People are dissatisfied right now, and they should be. This is not the standard at the University of Oklahoma.
But you're in this sticky situation because Brent Venables just signed an extension prior to this season. So that's what puts you in this purgatory. It would be a lot easier to cut bait either now or after the 2025 year if that season goes awry without that extension looming over everything. But now you've got a buyout and you're switching the way you do everything financially because now you've got to pay players. And If you buy out Venables, you've got to buy out the whole staff, and it's just a lot. Whereas you could have avoided this if you didn't give Brent Venables an extension after one winning season in his first 2 years. I want to go back to the text line because this piqued my interest, Parker. From the 405, what's the feeling on Kendall Daniels, the former Oklahoma State linebacker / safety?
Yeah, so I will tell you exactly what a good source on the matter told me about half an hour ago, because I think this is a pretty solid description of where things are at. The loss of ZAC ALLEY might be an addition by subtraction as far as Oklahoma's odds to land Kendall Daniels, because as I understand it, he was not a huge fan of ZAC ALLEY. I don't know why that is. I don't know what beef they had, if they had a beef, or if he just wasn't sold on him as a coach. Whatever the case, as I understand it, that was kind of the sticking point. And Oklahoma has been back in touch with Kendall Daniels ever since Lewis Carter jumped in the portal yesterday. I would expect that they make a hard push to bring Kendall Daniels home. Now, keep in mind, they cannot have him on campus until, January 9th maybe? It's sometime next week that the dead period lifts and you can start hosting visitors again. Until that time, it's going to be all quiet on the Western Front as far as getting guys to campus because you can't do it. But they're having ongoing conversations with Kendall Daniels. They're having ongoing conversations with several transfers. One guy I really, really like, and I took heat for it on Twitter when I said it on Friday morning, Maurice Westmoreland, transfer defensive end from the University of Texas at El Paso. He had 7.5 sacks this past season, first team All-Conference USA. That is an NFL football player. There were professional scouts, NFL scouts, flocking to El Paso throughout the fall to watch Mo Westmoreland. I know a lot of folks out there at UTEP. Got a lot of good friends on that coaching staff. They have all said he might be the best player and best leader that they've ever been around. And so if that's a guy that you can bring to the University of Oklahoma, I firmly believe, and I've watched him in person on multiple occasions, I firmly believe you pair Mo Westmoreland with R. Mason Thomas, that's one of the best defensive end tandems in the country next year. Is it Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard? I don't know about that, but
that's lofty.
That's going to be hell for SEC offensive tackles to deal with. If you got one of those coming off the left side, other one coming off the right. By the way, a 405 listener chimed in to say Grayson sounds cute.
I have no idea how to respond to that. Thanks.
Just take the compliment.
That's
take the compliment.
Say, we're just going to say thanks. I appreciate you in the 405. Since you brought up R. Mason Thomas, though, do you lean toward him coming back or him going pro? Because, this is a guy who could get drafted in the early second round, maybe even the back end of the first round.
As far as I know, everything is in line for R. Mason Thomas to return to the University of Oklahoma, and he has given the indication that he is returning to the University of Oklahoma. Now, I will say this. The same was true for ZAC ALLEY, and we saw how that ended. So, again, I cannot speak in definitives with where we're at right now. I wish I could. I wish I could tell you, hey, beyond a shadow of a doubt, R. Mason Thomas is back 100% in 2025. I don't know that to be the case. I think he's coming back. I have every reason to believe he's coming back, but until a decision is finalized and public, you can't take it to the bank.
The last we heard from R. Mason Thomas, did that make you more confident that he's coming back?
What was the last thing he said? What was this? I'm trying to remember.
Was this after the bowl game? It was either after the bowl game or right before it, where
it must have been right before because we didn't talk to him after the bowl.
Okay, so when he was talking about how I've got a lot of things to sort through, he's got till the middle of January to make a decision and whatnot.
I'm trying to go back and I'm trying to figure out what exactly his words
This will be something I have to find.
Yeah, he's definitely trying to play up the he's definitely trying to stay cryptic with it because, for instance, One Oklahoma tweeted out that he was locked in to return in 2025. That tweet was quickly deleted, and he was on social media. I think he just posted, So he's playing up the hype. You'd think that's just because he wants to make that announcement on his own terms, and that's the indication I've been given. But again, man, especially when NFL agents and big money gets involved, you never know. A verified source on the text line asked, can you also address the emergency donor meeting over the weekend? LOL. Yeah, look, there was no emergency donor meeting over the weekend. I know who spread that particular rumor, and I'm not going to give him the validation he seeks by saying his name, but that is a serial purveyor of misinformation. And all he does is put crap out that is untrue but can technically never be disproven, which is really intelligent when you think about it. I'll give him props on that. It's really clever.
Parker,
but
you just summarized Twitter in one sentence.
I suppose I did. But no, there was no emergency donor meeting over the weekend. There's so much noise out there, and a lot of it can get traced back to that one individual. There's so much BS out there that is not anywhere close to true. I could go on for 20 minutes about this, but I won't. We got to hit a break here pretty soon, but we'll get a couple more texts here. A verified source also checked in and followed up and said, Westmoreland can concur. NFL talent, big time upside, potential first-round talent type. Yeah, he's really good. He may very well have been the best player in Conference USA. That's a dude. Don't just take it as, oh, there's OU going after another G5 transfer. No, that kid can play. And he would be a welcome addition, one that Oklahoma would probably have to fork over a good deal of money to acquire, but I believe they'd be willing to do it.
How do you feel? How do you feel about their chances to get him?
Yeah, it's tough to say right now.
Okay.
It's only been a few days. Haven't really had the chance to really dig in on where things stand in that process. He's posted offers from Oklahoma State, from Texas Tech. There were a couple of others that he put out publicly as well. But Oklahoma was quick to the punch in offering him. So we'll see where that goes. I also know, and I don't know how realistic it is because he's going to command big money wherever he lands. He loves the University of Texas at El Paso to the point where there was a coaching change a year ago, and he stuck it out, even though he'd been All-Conference USA as a junior and could have gone somewhere to a much bigger school, made a good deal of money, and played higher-level ball as a senior. He chose to stick it out with a new coaching staff at a school that hasn't won a bowl game in almost 60 years. So I know they feel like they have a chance to retain him and convince him to back out of the portal. But how realistic is that in this day and age, especially with as highly coveted of a player as he is and has been? I don't know. So let's hit a break here. We are due. I'm at Caven's Group today. Keep filling it up on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. 405-651-3439 is how you chime in. Keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Hornsdown Apple Pie Liquor is not your grandma's apple pie unless your grandma was a moonshiner with a PhD in flavor. This all-natural, 6-time distilled spirit is sure to light up any party, tailgate, or special occasion. Whether toasting a touchdown or yelling at the ums because Spike was safe, Hornsdown Apple Pie is the perfect drink for celebrating the highs and lows of life in Oklahoma. Hornsdown celebrates all of you who cheer from the berm, tailgate, on Lindsay Street, and wreak havoc on social media. You can find our red bottle at your local liquor store or search for your closest location at drinkhornsdown.com.
Looking at Bob Stoops, The Visor, the HBC on our show every Monday. Check it out.
Life is full of big moments, and at OU Federal Credit Union, they are happy to help you make those moments happen. Thinking of buying a home? OUFCU offers mortgage loans with competitive rates and flexible terms. If you already own a home, their home equity loans can help you make those much-needed renovations or pay off high-interest debt. But it's not about the loans, it's about the people. Ready to make the next step toward your dreams? Visit OU Federal Credit Union today. Your home sweet loan is just around the corner. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by NCUA.
Come see the nation's top collegiate gymnasts at the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad on January 10th and 11th at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. Featuring Oklahoma, LSU, Cal, Utah, and Arkansas, plus 7 other of the nation's top teams. This event cannot be missed, and tickets are on sale now. Visit SproutsCollegiateQuad.com to experience all the gymnastics action.
Hi everybody, Toby Rowland here. And are you and your family looking for a place to golf in 2025? The Trails Golf Club in Norman is perfect for you. The Trails give you the opportunity for you and your family to spend quality time together by playing golf, enjoying the pool in the summertime, along with many family fun-filled activities around holidays. Plus, one of the best restaurants in town. Now is the perfect time to join the Trails. Contact Zane Alexander today at 405-360-3790 or visit trailsgolf.com.
Coach Stoops here. Join me every week on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Monday morning at 7:45, I'll join the voice of the Sooners, Toby Rowland, and TJ Perry for the Stoops Review. We'll break down all the action from the weekend, and on Thursday afternoons at 4:45 with Teddy and Tyler on The Rush as we get you ready for the weekend slate. It's the best time of year, and you can find me exclusively on The Ref. Download the KREF app today so you listen from anywhere in the world.
It's the end of year and Lander CDJR is celebrating with huge savings on new cars, trucks, and SUVs. $17,500 off of MSRP on new Ram 1500 Rebel Crew 4-wheel drive. New 2024 Ram 2500, $16,500 off of MSRP. New 2024 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon over $10,000 off MSRP. Plus find massive savings on certified pre-owned vehicles. Visit Lander CDJR for huge year-end savings at I-35 in Norman or visit online at LanderCDJR.Norman.com. Ram 1500 stock number RN207871. Wrangler Rubicon stock number RW331425. Are you looking for a luxury apartment for rent in Norman? The Falls at Brookhaven offers stunning 2- and 3-bedroom spacious floor plans with large walk-in closets, washer and dryer hookup, and a fabulous kitchen in a well-maintained, calm environment. From plush carpet to sleek stainless steel appliances to a pool, 24-hour fitness, and 2 dog parks, the Falls at Brookhaven has it all. Call our locally owned and operated community at 405-701-8233 or go online to thefallsatbrookhaven.com for a free tour and see what living in luxury is like.
Considering refinancing your mortgage? Now might be the perfect time to start planning. With rates on the move, Stride Bank can help you determine if you may be able to lower your monthly payments, shorten your loan term, or tap into your home's equity. Stride's expert mortgage advisors will work with you to tailor a solution that fits your needs. With local roots and national reach, Stride Bank is your go-to partner for all your banking needs. Stride Bank, your trusted financial partner since 1913. Find out more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
One final segment of Locked In here on The Ref, the home of Sooner fans. The Rush is coming up at 3 o'clock. Teddy Lehman and I are going to have you for 3 full hours of OU sports talk, taking you all the way through your drive home until 6 p.m. So look forward to that. Always love doing radio with Ted. Always love doing radio with Grayson Singleton as well, who is standing in for Tyler McComas today on Locked In. The Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line is where so many of you have been chiming in throughout the show, 405-651-3439. Two-star Sooner Jets says, Parker, can you address the rumors that we won't field a team next year, yet can confirm that the University of Oklahoma does intend to play football in the year of our Lord 2025? Do I know what the team is going to look like? No, not necessarily. I mean, you'll have John Mateer playing quarterback, so that's that. But, yes, they're not going to be canceling the program, unfortunately, for some of you. Justin Harris threw us $5 via the YouTube Super Chat, and we are on YouTube on this show every single day, folks. So if you don't get the chance to tune in via your car radio or the KREF app, which is the medium that many of you guys use to listen to us each and every day, you can also tune in by searching KREF on YouTube. Search KREF, search KREF Sports, search my name, search Grayson's name. Odds are you're going to find your way to our live stream. We are live from 2 to 3 every single day on YouTube. And Justin Harris was tuned in on YouTube. He threw us a $5 super chat and said, ZAC Alley's loss isn't as bad as OU Twitter says it is. But if Wes Goodwin comes to OU, does Sammy Brown come with him? Yeah, okay, so let's talk about this. What is the succession plan for Oklahoma? And we'll dive into this in much greater detail on the Rush. But what is the succession plan given that ZAC Alley is no longer employed at Oklahoma as the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach? There is the possibility, and that's all it is right now, a possibility, that Brent Venables hires his old running buddy, Wes Goodwin, who is currently the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach at Clemson. Now, if you're playing the what does the other fan base think of this guy game, Clemson does not think all that highly of Wes Goodwin.
Nope.
At least not right now. So you're going to have to look past that if you trust what Brent Venables is doing with this hire, if indeed the hire is Wes Goodwin. But this is another game that people love to play. Oh, if we get this coach, and it's been mentioned with Brian LePack, who's currently the tight ends coach at Kansas State. Oh, if OU decides to part ways with Joe John Finley and they hire Brian LePack, is he going to bring Lincoln Cure with him? No, he's not. And Sammy Brown, in all likelihood, would not be headed to Oklahoma with Wes Goodwin if Wes Goodwin was hired to OU staff. Sammy Brown has relatives at Clemson. There's a reason he committed to Clemson in the first place. He's a Georgia kid. He had an offer from Georgia, who at the time that they were back-to-back national champions, could have been a Bulldog, could have been a Sooner. OU was in the final three for Sammy Brown, but in the end, Clemson was always the school that seemed to have the upper hand. It made the most sense for him. And he's seen a great deal of playing time for them down the stretch as a true freshman. So Sammy Brown, the former 5-star linebacker who's currently at Clemson, I would not imagine that if OU hired Wes Goodwin that Sammy Brown would be in tow. Now, another possibility that's worth discussing, Grayson, and I'm curious to hear your take on this, there could be another former Clemson Tiger that winds up coaching linebackers at the University of Oklahoma. And that would be a guy that's currently on staff. Well, you may not think of him as on staff because he is but a graduate assistant right now. There is the possibility that your next defensive coordinator is already on staff, and that is safeties coach Brandon Hall, who has plenty of experience as a DC when you look at his resume, and that the linebackers coaching position would fall to James Skalski, who is, gosh, what is he, 25, 26 years old?
Can't be any older than that.
Uh-huh. Played at Clemson for Venables from 2016 to 2021. Joined Oklahoma staff as a graduate assistant. I believe that was prior to the 2023 spring period. So he's been on staff as a GA for close to 2 years now. He's been through 2 full seasons on OU staff, working with the linebackers. People love James Skalski. He has had an impact with recruits, even though that's not really expected of him as a graduate assistant. He's young, he's exuberant, he's enthusiastic. In many ways, he is a chip off the old block from the guy that recruited him to Clemson and coached him at Clemson, Brent Venables himself. And so, if you're looking for a guy that could be a one-for-one replacement for ZAC ALLEY, technically speaking, Wes Goodwin is probably the closest thing you're going to get because you can slot him in as DC and linebackers coach. He goes back with Brent. He knows the defense. He's not a carbon copy of Alley necessarily, but he could perform all of the same essential functions that Alley was performing. Could he do them as well as Alley? That's TBD. But that's as close to a one-for-one replacement as you're going to get. If you wanted to take a little bit more of a bolder approach and go with a younger approach and go with a guy who's up and coming in the profession, you could turn the linebackers over to Skalski.
Okay, so I just looked this up because I had to remind myself whether or not he was the guy at Clemson that would wear the neck brace, and he was.
Yes. He was.
Also had a propensity of targeting as well. But he was – I'll tell you
yes,
what
he did.
I'll tell you what I remember about James Skalski. Boy, is he an intelligent player. He was such an intelligent player back there for those Clemson defenses. So I do really like him. The whole situation with the guys that are most connected to who could be a defensive coordinator, them being almost in mental lockstep with Brent Venables to a concerning degree has me a little bit uneasy. And the reason being is, can you attract the most qualified people and maybe the best people if the thing that hovers over the situation is you have to run Brent's defense like Brent wants it run? And there is no room for any sort of individuality in terms of the defensive that particular defensive coordinator's preference and style. That whole thing is what's grinding my gears right now, and what makes me think contributed to ZAC Alley leaving. Now, Brandon Hall has experience calling defensive plays. To me, he is the best hire if you're going to promote from in-house. As it pertains to James Skalski, he's 26 years old. He's been a GA. He was an outstanding linebacker, a cerebral player. I've got no problem with him coaching linebackers. I really do. I think that would be a good hire. But in terms of, are they going to put themselves in position to get the best defensive coordinator they can? I really, really don't know. I really don't. But if you're going to promote from in-house, give me a guy who's called plays before and go with Brandon Hall.
And I will be completely transparent here. I think among realistic hires, Brandon Hall is as good as you can do. I think that is legitimately the best option. And there are people that are going to hate that because the last in-house hire was Seth Luttrell, and that has scarred people. That has scarred people on in-house hires, on anybody with past ties to the University of North Texas. And I understand, like, that's going to have to be something that some people just get past if Brandon Hall is your next DC. He is more than qualified. And he is very well respected. And if you look at his room and the way that he is recruited in recent years, you can make the argument he has been, pound for pound, the best hire that Brent Venables made when he became Oklahoma's head football coach. The thing you bring up about James Skalski, the intelligence, it's 100% true. And it gets underscored if you ever stand face-to-face with James Skalski. Because, look, Grayson, James Skalski, aside from the fact that he's still pretty buff, is a very average-looking dude in stature.
Yes.
He is 5'11". He just, like, if you didn't know any better, you would not have thought, yep, that was an All-American linebacker.
Uh-huh.
But he was.
Yep.
And the reason he was is not because he had jaw-dropping measurables or jaw-dropping innate ability. I said he was a workhorse, man, and Brent Venables coached him hard, and he got better and better and better over the course of a 6-year collegiate career. He committed to everything that Brent Venables was throwing at him, and he committed to being the absolute best college football player that he could be. He got a cup of coffee in the NFL with the Indianapolis Colts and decided, you know what, let me get into coaching. And fortunately, and I'm not sure how many people realize this, it's been discussed, but he has a history with the University of Oklahoma, actually. His dad played football at the University of Oklahoma. His dad was on the 1985 national championship team at Oklahoma. So, boom, double whammy. You get to come to Oklahoma. You get to coach for your dad's alma mater, and you get to coach for the guy that believed in you as a lightly recruited, undersized linebacker from Georgia. And James Skalski feels like the type of guy, and I would have said the same thing about ZAC Alley, so I don't know, but he feels like the type of guy that's going to be locked in with Brent wherever Brent goes. And as long as Brent is at Oklahoma, Skalski feels like the type of guy that you can count on being around. And so that might be another reason why that's a direction that you look. Then, of course, there is the great Ted Lehman, who did acknowledge on the Oklahoma Breakdown podcast with Gabe Eichert that he would coach linebackers as long as he could keep the podcast. So we'll have to grill Ted about that coming up on The Rush.
Ted,
needless to say, he has plenty of grassroots support.
Ted, the only thing I would say to that, number one, I think he would do a bang-up job coaching linebackers. We do have an example in college basketball about radio or podcast hosts coaching while doing said radio jobs, and it hasn't gone.
Doug Gottlieb can do it.
It's not gone that well.
I
Doug
believe
Gottlieb.
Ted can do it.
You know, thinking about James Skalski takes you back to those Clemson defenses that were just. I mean, you had Skalski and Isaiah Simmons and A.J. Terrell and all those defensive line. Those were some really, really good defenses that Brent Venables was coaching.
See, this is why it's tough for me, because I myself am kind of torn. I do think Brent Venables, to a certain extent, has a little bit of a case of white knuckles on the steering wheel with this football program. But as it pertains to the defense in particular, I'm like, yeah, you better have white knuckles on the steering wheel because you're the best in the business as a defensive coach. And they should be running your scheme. And you should have your fingerprints all over it because, man, as we saw for years and years at Clemson, when BV has the personnel to run his defense the way that he wants to run it, it is daunting. And it can power down any offense in college football.
Literally the only thing that you're going to have a hard time replicating with that defense is there's not a whole lot of Isaiah Simmons out there. And when he was at that cheetah position at Clemson, you couldn't do anything about it. Because, I mean, he was the size of a linebacker, could run like a corner, could rush the passer like an outside linebacker. I mean, they just don't make those things.
No. And that, I think, is one of the clear predicaments that faces Oklahoma heading into next season.
Agreed.
Do you have the personnel? Do you have the Jimmies and Joes to win 8 games in the SEC? Because I think 8 games is what it takes, Grayson. If not, if they don't hit the 8-win threshold, this thing might be kaput.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that because I want Brent Venables to succeed. That is a genuinely good human being who loves the University of Oklahoma and is a great football coach. And for a variety of reasons right now, it's just not working. And it's got to work in 2025 because this fan base, as well they should, has very little patience for a mediocre football product. It's not what they're accustomed to, and it should never become the standard at the University of Oklahoma. Here we go. The rush is 30 seconds away. Well, 30 seconds plus a break away. Ted Lehman and I have you from 3 to 6 p.m. Grayson, been awesome hanging with you for the past hour. Thanks for jumping in.
Absolutely, man.
I am at Caven's Group today. I'm at Caven's Group. Teddy will be out at Newcastle Casino. And coming up on the other side, 3 more hours of OU Sports Talk. This is The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.